Hey, sports fans, we're back at it again, and today we're here to talk about the recent Heisman winner, an Alabama star wideout DeVonta Smith. After winning the Heisman by a sizable margin over fellow finalists, college football darling Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence, Alabama quarterback Mac Jones, and Florida quarterback Kyle Trask, DeVonta Smith became a household name. The Crimson Tide senior brought home the hardware and is adding to his decorated college career, which also includes a national title. But these are things you probably already know about DeVonta Smith. Today, we're looking at 10 things you didn't know about the amazing wideout, and before we get to our list, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel for some of the best college football content on the web. All done? All right, let's roll. Starting off with number 10, DeVonta Smith almost didn't come back for his Heisman winning season. Following his junior year, he was considered a blue-chip wide receiver who could succeed at the next level, but he was nowhere near the world beater he was in the 2020 season. DeVonta decided to stay another season to wash the bitter taste of the previous season's college football playoff exit, claiming that he had unfinished business. Had Smith left after his 1,200-plus yard junior campaign, he would have likely been a first-round pick after receiving a first-round grade by several scouts. Following his Heisman campaign, Smith has vaulted into the top 10 overall consideration and potentially the first wideout selected off the board. Not bad for a wide receiver who entered the 2020 season as the second-best prospect on his team to Jalen Waddle. Unlucky for Waddle, who broke his ankle in Week 5, making Smith the focal point of the offense, he's now trailing Smith on just about every draft board you can find. Number 9, Smith spent his summer working on his routes and earning a degree in education. DeVonta Smith, he's not your average student athlete. He's a cerebral player that places a premium on education and hard work. Described as more of a chess than a checkers guy, it came as no surprise to those around him that finishing his degree was a huge priority of his. Although Smith may never use his degree, kudos to him for getting his diploma. Number 8, they call him Slim Reaper. If you look at the lean frame of DeVonta Smith, this name shouldn't come as a surprise, but to the surprise of defensive backs across the nations that have been left in his wake, attached to that skinny frame is a monster of a receiver. What DeVonta Smith has done this season is nothing short of historic, and the Reaper aspect of his nickname gained all the validation it needed by destroying the likes of all SEC cornerback Derek Stingley, who many peg as the nation's top cornerback. Smith is silky smooth on the football field with crisp routes to hurt you and long speed to burn you. Like the Grim Reaper, Smith has snatched souls all season and put fear into anyone lined up across from him. Nickname? More than approved. Number 7, he's already being compared to a Hall of Famer. If you watch DeVonta Smith play, you will see a wide receiver that can beat every coverage thrown at him with speed, precise route running, and contested catch ability that translates very well to the pro game. Many of the scouts have been mystified with DeVonta Smith, and they've began comparing him to one of the best receivers to play the game in former Indianapolis Colts Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison. The physical comparisons are certainly warranted. Harrison stood 6 feet tall and weighed 185 pounds, while DeVonta Smith is 6'1" and plays between 170 and 175. Now, both of these receivers use their ridiculous route running and their knowledge of defensive packages to find space, and both had that absurd after-the-catch ability, able to break off just about any play for a chunk gain, right? Harrison, who previously held a single-season catch record and ranks toward the top in just about every wide receiver category, was a 3-time first-team All-Pro and 8-time Pro Bowler. So, if Smith were to live up to the lofty comparisons, whichever team drafts him, they're going to be getting a gem. Number 6, coming out of high school, DeVonta Smith, well, he knew he was skinny, and he was self-conscious about it. Standing at 6'1" and very slender, Smith is fully aware that you think he's skinny. Matter of fact, he has accepted that he will never be a Julio Jones or other bulky receiver that can beat you with his power alone. When Smith first arrived at Bama, he was checking in at a frail 140 pounds and was even teased by classmates and teammates alike. Instead of letting this ruin his confidence, he began to try and add bulk just about every opportunity he got. As a matter of fact, whenever DeVonta Smith catches a glimpse of himself in the mirror or sees his reflection, he would drop down and give 10 push-ups. One time, when one of his coaches saw him drop down and give himself 10 push-ups while classmates cleared the room for him to do so, the coach asked Smith what was going on, and Smith said, "I'm trying to get bigger." 30 pounds later, he's still small for a 6'1" wideout or just about any position outside of kicker, but his eye-popping production his senior year would show it does not matter. Number 5, DeVonta Smith played rock, paper, scissors with Jerry Jeudy and other Alabama receivers in 2019 for route dibs. You heard that correctly. Since every one of the Alabama receivers is capable of playing every receiving position on the field, the core would play rock, paper, scissors to get the route they knew would get them into the end zone. In a clip that went viral last year, you can see Smith and Jeudy playing for a route and Jeudy celebrating when he beat Smith. Apparently the coaches know and have no problem with it because they just trust their wideout, according to former Alabama wideout Henry Ruggs, who said he didn't play rock, paper, scissors with the other wide receivers, but he knew about it. Number 4, DeVonta holds 6 Crimson Tide receiving records. DeVonta Smith holds the most records of any of them. To put this into perspective, Amari Cooper, well, he's the second closest with 3 records that he holds. Sure, Crimson Tide's philosophy may have changed and they throw the ball a lot more than they used to, but also keep in mind that DeVonta's career numbers came on a stacked receiving core where the ball had to be distributed among other studs. So it wasn't as if DeVonta had the offense to himself. When he did get the offense essentially to himself as Alabama's focal point, he set multiple single-game and single-season records and did this in a shortened season. The Slim Reaper has been ripping apart SEC cornerbacks all year, and had he not played a shortened season, the Heisman winner, well, he may have set the bar to a level no Crimson Tide receiver, or maybe any receiver in college football could touch. DeVonta Smith's numbers, they're remarkable. And if or when he is passed up, the receiver to do so is likely to hoist the same hardware as Smith, and if he doesn't, it would be a crime. Number 3, he might be the second best wide receiver in the upcoming draft. I know what you're thinking. How could a wide receiver who was the first to win a Heisman in 3 decades considered anything but the first wide receiver off the draft board? Well, you'd have to take a look at the season prior and at LSU wide receiver Ja'Marr Chase to understand why there is even a debate. Chase and his 20 receiving touchdowns led the nation last year as a true sophomore and part of Joe Burrow's record-breaking high-flying circus that won the national title, along with fellow first-rounders Justin Jefferson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Many pegged Chase, the Biletnikoff winner, to repeat his dominance in 2020, even with Joe Burrow leaving school for the pros. Chase seemed eager to scorch college sports again, but then COVID happened and sent the sports world into a flurry with pandemic worry. Nice rhyme. Shortly after Ja'Marr Chase opted out and spent the year training with DeVonta Smith, stayed in school, and then set the world on fire. Both are very polished wide receivers and should succeed at the next level, but as a few NFL executives have noted that Ja'Marr's strength and ability versus man coverage are what sets him apart, not just from DeVonta, but most receivers in recent draft memory. Now, it's hard not to have recency bias here after DeVonta's historic season, so as far as putting the current Heisman Trophy winner second to any receiver in this upcoming draft, we will just have to wait and see. We're sure this debate will rage on through the combine and up until the draft. Number 2, DeVonta Smith is a Heisman winner like no other. All respect to Tim Brown, Desmond Howard, and Johnny Rodgers, the other wide receiver Heisman winners, but they were all either sensational kick returners or all-purpose yard stats monsters. DeVonta Smith, he is the first Heisman-winning wide receiver to do it, well, just as a wide receiver. Sure, Smith scored a return touchdown and rushing touchdown, but the bulk of his production and gaudy numbers came lined up as a wideout. For a position that seems to get little credit when it comes to Heisman voting, DeVonta Smith set himself apart from the many wide receiver snubs in college football history by putting together a season that may have caused a riot had he lost. Randy Moss, we're looking at you with your 1,820 yards and 26 touchdowns as one of the biggest snubs from the position. While many wide receivers probably deserved the trophy since Desmond Howard, Smith set himself apart from every position group in this shortened season and had many speculating the only reason his quarterback Mac Jones was in the conversation was because he had DeVonta Smith. If you watched the ceremony, you'd probably think the same, as all of Jones's highlights featured DeVonta. Maybe this win for Smith will be a win for wide receivers and future potential Heismans, which has been dominated by quarterbacks and running backs. And number 1 on the list of 10 things you didn't know about the Heisman-winning wideout DeVonta Smith: he almost quit football back in high school to focus on basketball. It's hard to imagine such a talented player almost giving up on his craft. But back in high school, he almost switched sports and never looked back. After breaking his collarbone diving for a pass, Smith, who was about 140 pounds at the time, almost opted to focus on his other sport, basketball, because he didn't think he would ever be big enough to play football professionally, and he always wanted to give basketball a real shot. But his mentor and longtime barber Vincent Sanders convinced Smith to stick with football and promised to help him out on his muscle mass. After going over the pros and cons with Sanders, Smith decided to stick with football and never look back. Lucky for football fans everywhere, his determination and heart outweighed his fears, and the Slim Reaper stuck with the sport he loved most. And we all love to watch him play. Okay, that concludes our list of all the things you may have not known about wide receiver DeVonta Smith. If there